Okay, I'm back. I had to take a slight little break, but the last thing I was talking about was the last letter that I wrote to Pioneer Credit Recovery. That's the private agency that the Internal Revenue Service hired to collect this tax debt from me. And that last letter is a very good letter. It's in the book, and if you get the book and you decide to do this for yourself, you will be able to use this letter, just modify it to fit you, and it's going to work perfectly for you. And I did tell you that I would show you how to get out of this situation with the Internal Revenue Service. Even if you owe them money right now, especially if you have not signed any kind of contract with them or any agreements, you can really do this. If you just owe them, just do this. Now, this is what the first thing you should do if you're working a job. First thing you want to do is stop them from taking the money out of your check in the first place. And you can do that by claiming exempt. And I have this is in the book. It's called the Form VA4 for the Commonwealth of Virginia Department of Taxation. It's a personal exemption worksheet. I'm going to show it to you so you can see it. The VA4 is in the book. And all you have to do on line 3 is check the box on line 3, and Virginia will no longer take taxes out of your check. It says, I certify that I am not subject to Virginia withholdings. I meet the conditions set forth in the instructions. And then you check here. And for the federal, it's pretty much the same thing. It's called Employees Withholding Allowance Certificate, or a W-4. That is the federal form. This is a 2019, and they changed it in 2019. They changed it. In 2019, they had it right on the front of the form where you could claim exempt. It was number 7. It says, I claim exemptions from withholding for 2019, and I certify that I meet both of the following conditions for exemptions. Now, these conditions are the same conditions for the state as well. Last year, I had a right to a refund of all federal income tax withheld because I had no tax liability. And this year, I expect a refund of all federal income tax withheld because I expect to have no tax liability. If you meet both conditions, write exempt here. Now, some people may not quite understand what this is saying. Now, if you know what income is, and you know when you go to work, that money that you make is not income, that is compensation for your labor, and you know that you don't have any little side hustle, or you're actually selling something where you can make a profit, or you don't have any investments where you can actually make a profit off of, then you can honestly say last year you had a right to all federal income taxes withheld. Because if you allowed your employer to take federal income taxes out your check through the whole year, hoping that it would make your bill lesser when it came time to file your tax return, because you still didn't understand what income was or what income is, and you allowed your employer to take this money, you have a right to that. You'll have a right to get it all back. If you didn't have any investments, or you didn't make any sales, you didn't receive any profits. And if you expect a refund of all federal taxes in the coming year because you don't expect to start a business and start making a profit off your business, you don't expect to start selling anything, and maybe you don't expect that you're going to invest in anything. And if you already know that, then you can claim exempt. You could do it anyway because nobody really knows your business except for you. Nobody knows if you're going to get a profit. Just because you start a business don't necessarily mean you're going to make a profit. So last year, I had a right to a refund of all federal income taxes withheld. You had a right to it because you didn't have any income. You just let them take these taxes just in case you would have some. But that's not the real reason why you did it. You did it because you didn't really understand what income was. But now that you do, you can fill out these exemptions, and you can stop your employer from taking federal and state taxes out of your check. And they will do it. Then you have to renew this form every year. I think it's before February the 15th. So every year before February 15th, you have to put in a new form. If you don't put in a new form, nothing's going to happen. Just your employer is going to start taking those taxes out your check again. If you forget and you look at your check and see that they're taking these taxes out your check again, just go and submit the form. So that's how you stop them. You do your W4 and your VA4 or whatever your state form is. Now, the reason I said they changed it because it was right on the front in 2019. So they got a little slicker with it. 2020, when I looked at the W4 for 2020, and this is only the federal that I'm talking about, I didn't see exemption on here at all. I'm like, dang, they stopped us from claiming exempt. This is the 2020 form. It pretty much looked the same, but they changed how you can do the exemption. So what I had to do, I had to read the instructions because I don't see it on the form anywhere. Where would I put my exemptions? So once I read the instructions, it stated in the instructions, if you're going to claim exempt, write it underneath 4C. And that's what I did. I wrote it underneath 4C. So they do little tricks to try to trip you up, but sometimes you just got to read. So you do your exemptions. Now, when you want to file your tax return for that following year to get back everything they took from you on the 1040 on line 1 where it says total wages, salaries, and tips, instead of putting your compensation for labor down there, you're going to put zeros. You're going to put zeros all the way down. Just follow the form and put your zeros and put in whatever money amount that you're supposed to put in, because some of the lines they say you can put in $12,950 if you married. You know, they got, certain blocks they give you credits. I guess that's what they call it. Although you're not going to get anything for it, but you can just fill it out. But this is an easy 1040 easy, and like I said, they don't make those anymore. But you can still use it. And I have in the book where I did this in 2000 and 2021 and 2000. I think I put 3 of them in here, maybe 2. And what it showed is, like I told you, I've been doing this since 1991. I think I started in 1991. And what happened was, I was working at the United States Post Office at the time when I started doing this. And I tried to get other people to do it with me, but nobody wanted to do it. Everybody was afraid. Even the guy that went with me to the seminar and heard the same information I heard, he was still afraid. He never did do it. But I did it. I came back to the post office. I put in my W-4s and claimed my exemptions so they would stop taking the taxes out my check, which they did. But after about 5 years, and people started seeing that nothing had happened to me, then other people at the job wanted to do it. So I started, showing them how to do it. And I know I had about 26 people at that time doing this, claiming their exemptions and not, doing any taxes. So what the IRS did to me, which was totally illegal, I tried to fight it, but I'm not no lawyer. I do the best I can. They told the post office where I was working to not let me claim exempt and to take the taxes out my check at the highest rate. And that's what they did. So that's why I ended up filing a tax return for 2000 and 2001 and 2002, I believe. I think I did it for 3 years. And I put my zeros. I filed my tax return. I did use the 1040 easy, and I put my zeros where it says income. And it ended up owing me $7,566.29. Now, this is what they did. They didn't give me the money because they said, this is what they told me. They said they applied my overdue taxes to other taxes that they said I owe. I've got those letters in here too. And it's showing the amount, the same amount that my tax return was for. Like I said, I've been doing this since 1991. So according to their records are saying, well, you owe taxes. So even though you did this form the right way to get your refund back, we're not going to give it to you because we said you owe. We saying that you had some taxes. This is what this said. This right here said from December 1996. So they kept my $7,566 for that, and then they claimed that I still have a remaining balance of $5,549. And they did that for every year that I did that. Here's another one that I did, 2001, and they ended up owing me $7,255.24. And they wrote me again that year. Here it is. Overpaid tax applied to other taxes you owe. So they're not saying that the form is done incorrectly. They're just saying that we're not going to give you the money because our records show that you owe. So for somebody that has never done this, or even if you do owe, and you decide that, okay, now I'm going to do my exemptions, I'm going to stop them from taking any money out my check, and then I'm going to file my tax return the way it's supposed to be filed to get all my money back that they took from me because I didn't have any income. If you owe them, they're going to just take the money. You're not going to get it, but you're not going to have to pay them anything out your pocket either. If you don't owe them, they're going to give you your money back. They're going to have to. And you will get it. I do have people that I work with since I've been doing this that have gotten their state and federal income taxes by filing their tax returns using those zeros where you would normally put your compensation for labor, you use your zeros. And that is how you get them off of you and out of your pocket. Now, some people will have income, some people will have profits and gains, but don't be putting if you work for somebody and then you still got a side hustle, don't be putting the money that you work on your job down as income because it's not income. So that's what my book is basically about. Like I said, I call it Taxed Out. It has everything you need to get them off of you. And there are several other court cases, I don't have them with me right now, that do support that your compensation for labor is not income, and just the mere right to work should not be taxed. There are other court cases that do speak on that. And what I'm trying to do is just get people to realize that you're actually just giving your money away because of your lack of knowledge and fear. And I know people that even know now and seeing me thrive through this, they're still afraid. Fear is a very, very powerful emotion. And I feel like knowledge does erase fear. Now, even when I was doing this, I had moments of fear. I mean, they really came at me pretty hard one time. But that was because even though I had the knowledge, I didn't really have it like I have it now. I didn't really grasp how simple it really is. Because it's really very simple. All you got to do is know what income is and stick to that. And anytime they confront you and ask you and try to make you pay income tax, you ask them, well, when did I have some income? They're not going to be able to show you. And they're going to leave you alone. Now, I'm saying this to say that now I had to sue Craig Burns. That's the tax commissioner, the Virginia tax commissioner. I took him to court twice because this was in 2016, I believe. He just started taking my money. This is state saying that I owed state taxes. So I was working for a trucking company, and one day, I think it was right around the 4th of July holiday, I get my check and I see like $199 on my check, and I usually bring home anywhere from $900 to $1,100 a week doing that job. So I'm getting a check for $199. I hit the floor. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? It never dawned on me for a minute that it would have been something to deal with taxes. So that was the holiday weekend, and I think that Monday we didn't get mail, and then that Tuesday a letter did come in the mail telling me that the Virginia tax commissioner had given my employer a notice of lien, and told him to take this money out my check. So I did everything I could. I was writing them letters and trying to get them to stop doing it, and they wouldn't. And I should have quit that job sooner than I did. I stayed there too long trying to deal with them and trying to get them to stop doing it through letters and correspondence, but that didn't work. So I just quit that job. And being in the trucking business, if you got a good record, which I did, it wasn't hard to get another job. So I quit that job. I went and got another job doing the same thing, did my exemptions, and I had no trouble. So what I did do, I was so angry that this guy, Craig Burns, took this money from me. I took him to court and tried to sue to get it back. Now, my case never did go to trial because they do these preliminary hearings, and everybody is against me. I mean, the IRS lawyer was somebody from the Justice Department from the United States, the federal Justice Department, and the judge. I did it in Dinwiddie, so the judge in Dinwiddie, all of them working for the Commonwealth. So they get up there and they was like, well, Craig Byrne has immunity. He can't be sued, and all these different reasons why my case should be thrown out. And it actually was thrown out. They didn't allow me to have a trial or anything. It's like, okay, this is nonsense. Pretty much what they said. They didn't do it. So Craig Burns, I got this new job now. He gonna write me a letter this time and tell me that since I lost my case in Dinwiddie, that they're gonna come after me again because they still saying I owe Virginia taxes. Okay, so he said he gonna come after me again. So I took him back to court because I needed to stop this before it got started. So I sued him again. But this time in my suit, instead of me just making my claim, I told him that he was not providing me due process because I asked them over and over to prove that I had some income, and they have not done that. And I said until they do that, they're going to be denying me my constitutional protection of due process, and that's a crime committed under the color of law. It's something called deprivation of rights under the color of law. Now people you gotta read, go look it up, go look up color of law. It's the appearance of law without the substance of legal right. That's what the definition said in Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition. The color of law is the appearance without the substance of legal right. That is some heavy, heavy stuff right there. And it says even if they are working within their authority, even if they're doing what their job said they're supposed to do, it's all color of law. It's the appearance without the substance of legal right. And the reason I think that, and this is just my opinion, I think that most of that stuff is under the color of law, is because, for one thing, a lot of the crimes that they call crimes don't have a victim. Because there's three elements to a crime. It's the corpus delicti, that's the victim. The menace res, that was your mindset. What was you thinking? What was your intentions when you committed the crime? And the actual crime itself. And a lot of these crimes or people in jail for different things does not have a victim. And I know they have to be under the color of law, but it says everything they do. And I guess it's because they're getting their power from the state. And I guess they telling us in essence that everything that the state and the government does is under the color of law. It's in the appearance without the substance of legal right. That's what that means. They need your permission, your consent to do certain things. A lot of things we've been tricked into, like getting driver's license. We're giving our consent to a whole bunch of stuff that we don't even realize that we have just by having that driver's license contract. And I'm not trying to go off into a whole bunch of other stuff because my basic thing is the taxes, because that's the main thing that I've had success with, is dealing with these income taxes, because I know what income is, and I know that I don't have any and never have, because I haven't invested in anything and I haven't been selling anything to make a profit. So I know I haven't had any income. But like I said, I was going back to Craig Burns. When I put in my second lawsuit that he was depriving me of my rights, which was a crime under the color of law, his attorney, who works for the United States government, mentioned that in court when we was having our little preliminary hearing thing. And they threw my case out again. I never had a chance to have a trial to try to get my money back or nothing like that. But he never bothered me again either. That was the last I heard of Craig Burns. So sometimes you gotta let them know what you know and what you'll do, because it's a crime if you deprive somebody of their constitutional protections under the color of law, like you law enforcement. And see, a lot of lawyers and people that teach this, they try to act like the person has to be doing something wrong. No, everything they do is under the color of law, whether it's wrong or right. It's still under the color of law, but you just can't deprive people of their rights while you're operating under this color of a law. That's what it really saying. So I sued him and I didn't win. I didn't get any of my money back, but he did leave me alone. And you know, that's my story pretty much. So what I'm saying is that anybody that want to do this, I'm willing to help you and walk you through it. But it's real simple. It's real easy to understand, and that's the best part about it. I showed you how to get out of it, how to do your exemptions, and I got plenty of letters in here. I got in here to show you how to do your tax return. Even though I use the 1040 EZ, you can still follow it by using the regular 1040s. I even have something from the Virginia Constitution in here, and I'm gonna just throw it out there because it means a lot to me. I don't think everybody understands it. Maybe I don't, because I asked the Virginia Supreme Court this question too. Because I do a little battling sometimes, especially when it comes like something I ain't gonna go to jail for. I'll go to court and battle it because I asked them. I think I had a traffic ticket. I had an accident actually. That's what happened. I wrecked my car. I hit a guardrail, and the state trooper came and gave me a reckless driving ticket. Now I gotta go to court and all this for a reckless driving ticket. And I asked them, at first I asked them to show me a complaint from an injured party, because I'm like, who is injured? Of course, they ignored me and just went on and ran me through, ran me on through. But at first I went to General District Court, and in there I had a good driving record. And the judge said, well, you got such a great driving record, we'll just send you to driving school, and then I'll just go ahead and dismiss it. So I wanted to try to fight it because I wanted to see if I could get somebody to answer this constitutional question for me, explain this little part of the Bill of Rights in the Virginia Constitution. So when the judge said, well, we'll just send you to driving school, and then when you come back, I'll dismiss it. I said, well, you can dismiss it now. Oh my God, he got so mad. That guy, he was pissed off when I said that. He said, well, that's not going to happen. And he gave me something like a $300 something fine plus cost of court. He was really upset with me because I didn't want to take that driving school. But that was General District Court. Anything that you don't like that happens in General District Court, always appeal it to the Circuit Court, because that's a court of record. The General District Court is not a court of record. They don't keep records of nothing. They don't keep recordings of what happens there. But in the Circuit Court, they do. So if you go to Circuit Court, whatever's happening there will be audio taped or stenographer taped. I don't think they do that too much anymore, but it will be a record of it. So I took it to the Circuit Court. I asked them for a verified complaint from an injured party, and that nobody was there that could do that. So I didn't really even participate in the case. I didn't have too much to say because I know they're gonna do what they're gonna do. I wanted to take it to the next level. So they found me guilty, but the judge, he did knock $150 off the fines. I think it ended up being like $200 instead of $300, and the cost of court was $165, so it still ended up like $300 something. So I ended up taking it to the Virginia Court of Appeals, and when you go there, you have to ask constitutional questions. And my constitutional questions were about due process, because everybody got the right to due process. Due process means pretty much that they can't just go doing stuff to you without notifying you and giving you an opportunity to respond. And when I asked them for a verified complaint from the injured party, they denied me due process to find out who did I injure, because there's 3 elements to a crime. The judge said this is a criminal case, so what's the other third element to the crime? Who did I injure? For one thing, I hit a guardrail. My insurance company paid for the guardrail. So who did I injure that I have to pay Dinwiddie some money? And my other question came from the Virginia Constitution and Bill of Rights, Section 6. Listen to this. It says that all elections ought to be free, and that all men having sufficient evidence of permanent common interest with an attachment to the community, have the right of suffrage, which is just right to vote, and cannot be taxed or deprived of or damaged in their property for public uses without their own consent or that of their representatives duly elected, or bound by any law to which they have not in like manner assented for the public good. Now, when I read that, I see they say all elections are to be free. So they said that elections should be free, so it shouldn't be no poll taxes or nothing like that just for you to vote. And if you have sufficient evidence of permanent common interest with and an attachment to your community, you have a right to vote. A lot of us have sufficient evidence. You have an address, you may have a job, you showing that you have attachment to your community, you live somewhere, and you may work somewhere, but if nothing else, you do live somewhere, so that give you an attachment to your community. You're not just a wanderer or somebody, a nomad that's traveling all over the place and don't stay on one spot. You say you have a right to vote, and you cannot be taxed or deprived of or damaged in your property for public uses without your own consent or that of their representatives duly elected. Now, they say that you can't be deprived, you can't be taxed, you can't be deprived of or damaged of your property. Your property can't be taken from you. It can't be damaged for public use without your consent. Then they say, or that of their representatives duly elected. Now, that's the part that I was questioning when I had Craig Burns in court, and his lawyer said, this is what she said, because I'm telling them that they need my consent to bound me by their laws, because that's what this says, or bound by any law to which they have not in like manner assented for the public good. Assented just the same thing as agree. So if you don't agree to be bound by their laws for the public good, according to this Constitution, you don't have to be. You don't have to be bound by their law without your consent. But then it says, or that of their representatives duly elected. So that goes back to voting. So she tried to say, well, she said, Mrs. Kubweza, that's me, she knows that we have duly elected representatives and we don't need her consent, for her to pay taxes. That's what we was talking about. We don't need her consent because we have duly elected representatives. I said, yeah, we do. I said, but if that was all was necessary for me to be bound to pay taxes, is that we have duly elected representatives, and we already know we do have duly elected representatives, it wouldn't have been no need for them to say without their own consent. They wouldn't have had to put those words in there without their own consent. It says you cannot be taxed, deprived of, or damaged in your property for public uses without your own consent or that of their representatives duly elected. So that makes me think that if you don't vote and you don't have a duly elected representative because you don't participate in the voting process, then you don't have a duly elected representative, and they need your consent to bound you by these laws. A lot of people don't vote. You have religious organizations that don't vote. You have people that has been incarcerated and now out and can't vote. So a lot of people don't vote, and some people just don't vote because they know, well, we're not going to get into that part right there. But if you don't vote, they need your consent. And that's the way this reads to me. And I would like for someone to challenge me or read it and give me a different interpretation. And I asked the Virginia Supreme Court, see, that's what I was trying to get to. When I got that last ticket for that accident, I sent this all the way to the Virginia Supreme Court. The Court of Appeals, they disagreed with Dinwiddie Court and they wouldn't answer the question. Because I asked them about this. I asked them, isn't that what this means? Because the lawyer for Craig Burns was trying to say that I'm misinterpreting it. So, okay, if I'm misinterpreting it, then somebody interpret it for me, so I can understand, because this is my understanding of what it's saying. So nobody would answer. So the Virginia Supreme Court wouldn't answer it either. When I appealed my accident ticket to them, they came back and said that if it's not a jailable offense, it took me a long time to answer too. First, they didn't say nothing for months. Then they sent me a letter said that they was gonna make Dinwiddie give an answer because the Court of Appeals didn't even ask Dinwiddie to respond to my claim at all, to my suit at all. But the Supreme Court asked Dinwiddie to respond, and they did. And then I gave another response to their response. Then a couple of months went by again. Then I finally got a letter from the Virginia Supreme Court, and what they said is they never answered my questions. All they said was, since it's not a jailable offense, they're gonna let whatever the Court of Appeals say stand, and that's how they got around answering this question for me. So if I ever get another chance to ask that question again, I will. Although I'm not looking, for any battles, but if it ever come that I get another ticket or something like that, I will ask that question. And I did want to touch on this real quick before I go. I want to talk about those photo tickets. Now, they have an out for you on those photo tickets as well. I know some people know, but maybe some people don't know. On the back of that photo ticket, they give you the option that you can say that you were not the driver. And you have to do an affidavit and just get it notarized. Just write a statement and get it notarized and send it back to them saying that you were not the driver. Now, I did that countless times. I know I've done it where I live at least 6 times and never had to go to court or anything like that. But then I went to Suffolk. I was going up to Suffolk, going up to Virginia Beach. And I wasn't the driver for real this time. But it wouldn't have mattered if I wasn't. I still was going to say I wasn't the driver because they can't prove it. So I went through the same motions. I sent in my affidavit saying I wasn't the driver. And they wanted to push the issue. So what happened was, I don't know why they didn't accept it, but they ended up giving me a court date. So I didn't go to General District Court. I just sent my information up there, showing them that I had already did the affidavit saying I wasn't the driver, but they went on and found me guilty in my absence. So I appealed it, and I ended up going to circuit court. So when I went there, I'm thinking, okay, this is gonna be what are they gonna have to say? They can't prove that I was the driver. You look at the ticket, you can't see who's driving the car. So the prosecutor, he got 2 witnesses. When I get there, he gonna give me this big stack of stuff. This supposed to be my discovery. It really was pretty much the stuff that I had sent in, which they claimed they didn't get. He claimed he didn't get it, but he actually gave me copies of it. I'm like, how you didn't get it and you giving me copies of it? But I didn't say nothing. He had a state trooper. He had a state trooper there that's supposed to monitor the cameras, and then he had some kind of tech guy there that's supposed to make sure the cameras are working properly. And he put him on the stand. He put the state trooper on first, and he asked him all these questions about the cameras. I let him just go through their whole spiel, and it was my turn to ask questions. I think I asked him 2 questions. At first, because they try to act like that I didn't say who was the driver when I sent in my affidavit. So the first question I asked the state trooper, I said, on the back of the ticket, does it state on the ticket that you have to name the driver? Which it doesn't. It doesn't state that you have to name who was driving. All it says that you have to say that you were not the driver. But when I couldn't figure out why they just didn't accept this because they had been doing it all the time, I went on and looked up the code. And when I looked up the code in the Code of Virginia, it says in the code that you have to name the driver. So that's when I sent a second letter before I went back to circuit court, and I did name the driver. So, but he said, no, it doesn't say you have to name the driver. And my second question was, I said, well, from your observation, what you can see, can you tell who the driver is? Could you tell that I was the driver? He said, no, I can't tell who the driver was. So then the tech guy came up and he asked all his little questions and did what he did. And so when my turn to ask him, I asked him the same thing. I said, could you tell who the driver was? He said, no, I couldn't tell who the driver was. So I told the judge, I said, I said, this need to be dismissed. I said, I have an unrebutted affidavit here where I'm saying that I'm not the driver, and neither one of these guys can say that I was the driver. And the judge said, yeah, and I see that you did mention who the driver is, and we can't prove that she was the driver either. And I said, well, you can't prove that. He said, yes, I was about to say that. We can't prove that you were the driver, so he dismissed it. But that was the only time I had to go to court. But pretty much that's all you have to say, that you're not the driver, unless they got a photo that they can actually see you in their car and can identify you. It wasn't you. Like I said, do a Shaggy on them and say it wasn't me. And I'm going to close right there, and I'm going to come back maybe in a couple of days and do another one and maybe give a few more court cases supporting why your compensation for labor is not income and you should not be paying taxes on it. All right, peace.